When you wake up in the morning and your feet already feel heavy, when your ankles look fuller than they used to, and your legs don't quite feel like they belong to you anymore, that can quietly take something from you. Not pain exactly, more like confidence. You may find yourself wondering if this is just how life is now, or if something important is being missed. I've sat across from many people your age who describe the same moment. You look down at your legs at the end of the day and think, something isn't right. The swelling feels tight. Shoes don't fit the same. The skin feels stretched. And even though no one may have explained it clearly to you, it leaves you uneasy. I'm Dr. Daniel Carter, and over many years of listening to older adults, I've learned that swelling in the ankles and legs rarely feels like a small issue to the person living with it. It affects how steady you feel when you stand, how far you're willing to walk, whether you trust your balance when you move around your home. These are not minor things, they're deeply connected to independence. What often surprises people is how quietly this kind of swelling develops. It doesn't usually arrive all at once. It builds slowly, a little fullness at night, socks leaving deeper marks, legs that feel heavier by evening. Many people tell me they didn't even notice it at first, until one day they suddenly did. And what makes it more confusing is that the swelling isn't always a sign of one clear problem. In many cases, it's the body's way of showing strain from many small changes happening over time. Circulation that isn't as strong as it once was, muscles that move less during the day, long hours sitting, even the way fluid shifts in the body as we age. What I've noticed is that people often feel frustrated because no one ever explains it in a way that makes sense to everyday life. You may hear a word like edema, which simply means fluid buildup, but that doesn't tell you why it feels worse at night, or why mornings sometimes feel better, or why some days are heavier than others. Many older adults quietly wonder something else too. Why does it seem to settle in the ankles and lower legs? Why not elsewhere? And why does lying down sometimes bring relief, while standing for long periods makes it worse? These are reasonable questions, and yet they're rarely talked about in a calm, human way. What I want you to know is this: you are not imagining it, and you are not alone in noticing it. I've heard the same concerns again and again, spoken softly, sometimes with embarrassment, sometimes with worry about what the future might look like. There's also something else I've observed over time. Swelling is often treated as a single issue, when in reality it tends to respond to small daily patterns, especially what happens in the quiet hours of the evening. Not dramatic changes, not harsh interventions, but gentle rhythms that support the body while you rest. Many people focus only on what happens during the day, but nighttime is when the body tries to rebalance itself. When circulation slows, when fluids shift, when the legs finally get a chance to release some of the pressure they've been holding all day. And yet, this period is often overlooked. Some older adults tell me they drink fluids late into the night without thinking much of it. Others mention leg discomfort that keeps them awake. Some describe a restless heaviness that makes it hard to get comfortable in bed. None of this feels urgent, but over time, it adds up. What's important here is not doing more or trying harder. It's noticing patterns. The body speaks quietly as we age. It rarely shouts, and swelling is one of those quiet messages, not a warning to fear, but a signal asking for gentler support. I've seen that when people begin paying attention to how their evenings feel, how their legs feel as the day winds down. They often start noticing small connections they hadn't seen before, not causes to blame, just relationships, one thing affecting another. And this is where curiosity becomes helpful, not the anxious kind, but the calm kind. The kind that simply wonders, what might help my body feel a little lighter by morning? There are simple nightly habits many older adults naturally gravitate toward over time, not because they were told to, but because their bodies responded kindly to them. These routines don't force change, they invite relief, and when done gently, they may help support comfort, circulation, and a sense of ease before sleep. You don't need to understand every reason behind them. In fact, most people don't. They just notice how they feel afterward. A little less tightness, a little more softness in the legs, a calmer transition into rest. As we talk together, I want you to hold one thought quietly in your mind. Swelling does not define your future. It does not mean your independence is slipping away. It simply means your body is asking to be listened to differently now than it was years ago. And sometimes, the most meaningful changes don't happen during the busy parts of the day at all. They happen in the stillness of the evening, when you finally slow down and give your body permission to reset. As the day begins to settle, many older adults describe a familiar feeling that creeps in without warning. The legs feel heavier than they did in the morning. The ankles seem tighter. There's a quiet discomfort that doesn't always hurt, but doesn't fully relax either. It's the kind of feeling that makes you shift your feet, adjust your position, or rub your calves without even realizing you're doing it. Over the years, I've noticed that this evening heaviness often carries an emotional weight as well. You may start wondering whether tomorrow will feel the same, whether walking will become more tiring, whether this is simply another thing you must learn to live with. Those thoughts can arrive quietly, especially at night when the house is still and there's more space to think. What many people don't realize is how strongly the body responds to timing. Not strict schedules or rules, but rhythms. As we age, the body becomes more sensitive to when things happen, not just what happens. Fluid movement, comfort, and leg fullness often change depending on how the evening unfolds. Some older adults notice that drinking fluids late at night leaves their legs feeling more swollen by morning, even though they were simply trying to stay hydrated. It can feel confusing. Water is supposed to be good for you, so why would the body seem to resist it at certain hours? This is one of those moments where the body isn't being difficult. It's just responding differently than it once did. In many cases, the system that manages fluid balance becomes less flexible with age. It still works, but it prefers gentler timing. When the evening is filled with constant sipping, the body may have trouble redistributing that fluid before rest. People often describe waking up with stiffness or puffiness that wasn't there earlier in life. I've heard many say they felt relief simply by becoming more aware of when their evening intake naturally slowed down, not from restriction or discipline, but from listening, from noticing how their legs felt the next morning. This kind of awareness doesn't demand perfection, it just opens a quiet conversation between you and your body. There's another pattern that comes up often in these conversations, a sense of internal imbalance that's hard to describe. Some people say they feel crampy, others say their legs feel jumpy or unsettled at night. It's not pain exactly, more like the muscles can't quite find peace. This is where minerals like magnesium and potassium are sometimes mentioned in research, not as fixes or treatments, but as elements the body uses to maintain calm movement and fluid balance. Many older adults don't lack these completely. They just don't hold on to them as easily as they once did. What I find meaningful is how people describe the difference when their internal balance feels supported. The legs feel less restless, the heaviness softens, sleep comes a bit easier. It's subtle, gentle, but noticeable enough to bring reassurance. Often this balance is not something you feel instantly, it's something you sense over time. A quiet steadiness returning, a sense that your legs aren't fighting you at the end of the day. I've also observed that stillness, when it lasts too long, can add to swelling. Sitting for extended periods in the evening, watching television, reading, resting, may feel deserved after a long day, and it is, but the body sometimes interprets long stillness as stagnation. Many older adults tell me that even small moments of repositioning bring relief. Not exercise in the traditional sense, just allowing the legs to change relationship with gravity, shifting pressure, creating space. One gentle position that often comes up in conversation involves letting the legs rest higher than the heart for brief periods. People describe it as surprisingly comforting, almost like the legs are finally exhaling. There's no strain, just a sense of release. What's interesting is how emotional this can feel. Some describe a wave of calm. Others say it reminds them of how their body used to feel years ago, lighter, more responsive. It's not about turning back time. It's about reminding the body of a position it still understands. Temperature also plays a quiet role in how swelling feels. Warmth can soothe, coolness can refresh. Many older adults instinctively notice that alternating sensations brings comfort when stiffness or fullness lingers. A warm foot soak may feel relaxing at first. Cool water afterward may feel awakening. Together, they often create a sense of movement without motion. People describe it as circulation waking up gently, without effort or strain. These sensations don't need explanation to be meaningful. The body responds in ways that are felt more than understood. What matters is how it leaves you feeling afterward. Lighter, calmer, less tense. As evening turns toward night, I often hear people say they crave something grounding, something that helps them reconnect with their legs rather than ignore them. Touch becomes important here. Gentle contact, familiar movements. Some older adults use oils during quiet self-massage, not to fix anything, but to reconnect with their body. Certain plant-based oils have long been associated with comfort and circulation. More importantly, the act itself sends a message of care. When you touch your legs with patience rather than frustration, something shifts. The body responds differently when it feels attended to instead of judged. Many people describe warmth spreading slowly, tension easing, and a sense of reassurance settling in. There's also a feeling of protection that becomes important with age. Light compression garments are sometimes mentioned as offering a sense of support, not tight, not restrictive, just enough to remind the legs that they're being held gently. People often describe this as feeling steadier when they stand, more confident when they move around before bed. Not because anything dramatic changed, but because the legs felt acknowledged. All of these experiences point to something deeper. Swelling is not only physical, it affects how safe you feel in your body, how much you trust your legs to carry you, how comfortable you feel moving through your home at night. And when these quiet evening patterns begin to shift, many people notice that mornings begin differently too. Not perfect, not pain free, but calmer, more manageable, more familiar. What matters most is not doing everything, but noticing what your body responds to with kindness. Aging doesn't require force, it responds better to understanding. As night settles in, there's often a moment when the body quietly asks for gentleness, not effort, not correction, just care. Many older adults notice this most in their legs, not pain, but a fullness, a pressure, a reminder of everything they've carried through the day. This isn't the body failing you, it's the body speaking in a softer language than it once did. And when that language is noticed, even briefly, something often shifts. Not dramatically, but enough to feel. Evenings tend to feel different from the rest of the day. There's less rush, less expectation. The nervous system begins to slow. In that calm, the body often becomes more willing to release what it's been holding. Many people describe finally stopping the quiet bracing they didn't realize they were doing. Shoulders soften, breathing deepens, and the legs, after hours of support, begin to ease just a little. That small softening matters. Preparing the body for rest is much like preparing the mind. You don't force sleep, you invite it. The legs respond the same way. They rarely respond well to pressure, but they often respond to kindness. Familiar evening patterns can create a sense of safety. Not rigid routines, but gentle signals the body begins to recognize. When that happens, restlessness often fades. The legs don't feel as alert, as tense, as guarded. Many people are surprised to realize how much emotional weight their legs have been holding. Long days, waiting, worry, standing through life's responsibilities. The body remembers all of it. When that weight is acknowledged, there's relief, quiet relief, the kind that allows a deeper exhale. Strength at this stage of life doesn't mean enduring discomfort. Often it means protecting yourself wisely. Feeling gently supported can bring a sense of stability that carries into the night, especially during those moments when you stand or walk in low light. That feeling of safety is closely tied to independence. When your legs feel unreliable, everything feels harder. When they feel supported, even slightly, daily life feels more manageable. It's also important to feel ownership over your own care, not being told what to do, not following strict rules, simply choosing what feels right for you. That sense of choice allows the body to relax rather than resist. There's dignity in caring for yourself this way, in treating your body not as a problem to solve, but as a companion that has been with you for decades. Over time, this gentle attention can soften fear. The worry that swelling automatically means decline begins to loosen. Curiosity replaces tension. Awareness replaces frustration. Aging doesn't move in a straight line. Some days feel heavier, others lighter. The body is still responsive, still changing, still communicating. Swelling can shift for many reasons. Rest, stress, weather, sleep. None of this is your fault. What matters is realizing you are not powerless within it. When evenings become about comfort rather than correction, mornings often feel more approachable. And even when the body doesn't feel perfect, the reassurance of having cared for yourself remains. That builds trust. Quietly, over time, many people your age share these experiences, even if they don't say them aloud. The heaviness, the uncertainty, the concern about mobility. These are human concerns, not personal failures. You are allowed to care for your body without judgment. And as you continue noticing with patience, your relationship with your legs may change. Not because they return to the past, but because you understand them better now. That understanding brings calm. And calm, more than anything, supports confidence. As the night continues, there's often a gentle slowing that happens without effort. Breathing becomes quieter, thoughts lose their sharp edges, and the body, in its own time, begins to settle. This is when many older adults notice something important, not a dramatic change, but a softening. The legs may still feel full, the ankles may not look the way they once did, but there's a different quality to the sensation, less urgency, less tension, almost as if the body is saying, "Thank you for noticing me." That moment matters more than people realize. Because when the body feels acknowledged, it doesn't have to work as hard to get your attention. Discomfort often becomes quieter when it's no longer ignored or fought against. I've seen how this quiet acceptance can change how people sleep. Not perfectly, not every night, but often enough to make rest feel safer, more reachable. Sleep, especially later in life, isn't just about closing your eyes. It's about feeling secure enough to let go. When the legs feel cared for, even gently, the mind follows more easily. Many people tell me they stop bracing themselves as they drift off. They're not waiting for discomfort. They're not anticipating stiffness. They simply allow the night to arrive. And that sense of permission is powerful. Over time, these small evening moments can reshape how you relate to your body during the day as well. You may find yourself standing with a bit more confidence, walking with a little less hesitation, not because everything has changed, but because fear has loosened its grip. Fear often weighs more than swelling ever could. When that fear softens, movement becomes more natural. You trust your legs a bit more. You trust yourself a bit more. I want to say something that's very important. Your body is not betraying you, it's adapting. Aging asks for new forms of partnership, not surrender. Many people spend years feeling quietly frustrated with their bodies, when what they truly need is understanding, not explanations filled with complex language, but permission to experience their body as it is today. You are allowed to slow down in the evenings. You are allowed to listen. You are allowed to care for yourself without trying to fix everything. Independence doesn't come from ignoring discomfort. It comes from responding to it with wisdom. And wisdom, at this stage of life, often looks like gentleness. As someone who has listened to countless stories over the years, I can tell you this. The people who feel most stable and confident are not the ones who push their bodies the hardest. They're the ones who respect their limits without letting those limits define them. They notice patterns. They respond kindly. They stay curious instead of fearful. That curiosity keeps the mind open, and an open mind creates space for reassurance. If tonight, as you settle in, you simply pause and acknowledge your legs, not with worry, not with frustration, but with quiet recognition, that alone is meaningful. You've carried yourself through many seasons of life. Your body remembers that. And even now, it continues to respond when it feels cared for. There's no rush here, no pressure to change anything all at once. Just awareness, just presence. Sometimes the most powerful shift doesn't happen in the body at all. It happens in how you see yourself within it. As this conversation gently comes to rest, I hope you carry one simple thought with you. You are not alone in this experience, and you are not losing yourself to it. You're learning a new way of listening, and that quietly can make all the difference.